across the nation.
Raging Review.
The Raging Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Raging Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to Raging Review. On an unusual postgame on a Thursday night, not something we typically do, Nick, Lane, and Josh, aka Dejected Ball Enthusiasts. Yes, dejected is the word of the night. I think that's how we all feel. Also, Camille is there as well. I'll give a little wave to Camille. There she is. All right. What's up, Camille? Boys and lady, not a great night for the Cajuns, obviously, as Arkansas State comes into Teague Moore Field at Russo Park and blanks the Cajuns 3-0 on a Thursday night where, let's go back in time. We won 5 out of 6. We're feeling good about ourselves. We hit the ball, we'll go nuts at Georgia State, thinking that, okay, our bats are finally coming around. And then we are not even competitive now for the 4th game in a row. And I guess some people are going to say, well, the starting pitcher was good. Yeah, okay. He's not a starting pitcher. Guy's a reliever that they plugged into the starting role tonight. And if he could have gone more innings, he would have, because he only pitched like 55 pitches through 7 innings, Josh. 55 pitches through 7 innings. Gave up 1 hit. Or actually 2. I think the second hit is what got him pulled. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss at a time in the season where we need to be on the upswing, which we thought we were. We won 5 out of 6, feeling good about ourselves. Okay, this is it. We've seen it every season. We go up that hill at some point late in the season. It seems inevitable now at this point that no matter what we do through the rest of the season, I mean, we're trying to hold on to a 4th place spot, not have a play-in game. And we looked like complete crap. Outside of pitching, I think pitching did a good job. I mean, Tate Hess gave up a bomb. So did Simo. But they gave up 3 freaking runs, and you can't score. I mean, when we went down 1-0, Josh, did you have any feel that this team was going to compete at that point? I mean, I thought, I was like 1-0, that's it, we're done. And it was true. All they needed was a run to beat us tonight.
Team's lifeless, dude. I spent a whole week trying to tell everybody that Arkansas State could pitch, and they can, and that is a bad matchup for this offense. If you can pitch, and I'm not saying that do you have arms that you can run in here that'll throw 94 and 96. I'm talking about, can you pitch? If you can pitch, we can't beat you. We can't, and you saw it tonight. We got guys that can't get on the field because they're not doing their job in the classroom. So we saw a lineup that was a little bit I mean, you don't see Casey Ortiz getting at bat for 2 months, and then he comes in the 9th. You get
Porsche out of nowhere comes into the game. What was that? By the way, you got Blaine Lucas, who hit a bomb in his first at bat last weekend, then hit a double, and I think he had a couple more hits on Sunday. Doesn't see the field tonight, and it ain't because of grades, brother, because his grades are good. So I'm trying to figure this out, because there is no consistency anywhere in this program right now.
Well, if you want consistency, this is not the program to follow.
Well, we're consistently bad right now.
We're the anti-consistency. This team they're lifeless. And, we heard some really unnerving things understood that there wasn't some good practice days this week. And I don't know. To me, you go on the road to Southern Miss and you put up a performance like that. It kind of told me what I needed to know last week. Jared and I were talking today, and he was like, well, but we're going to respond this weekend. I said, I don't think we're going to respond. I think these guys have checked out. I started questioning some of the players on this team and whether they love to play or not. And from what I can tell, we don't have a whole bunch of kids that love to play the game. I think we have some guys that love to put on the uniform and be the man on campus. I think we have a lot of that, but I don't think we got a bunch of gritty ball players on this team. I'm sorry, dude. When you get punched in the mouth against your rival, and then you see the press that tells you that you just didn't show up the week before, you come out at home on a Thursday 3 days later or 4 days later, you come out on a Thursday at home and you have 1 hit through 6. I'm sorry, man. Somebody's going to have to explain to me how we're not right about that. Because this whole water hose boy thing and this gritty player thing and this next man up guerrilla warfare garbage, it's all it is for clicks and for social media. This is not the reality of this ball club. We have totally missed. We poorly built a roster. We missed on 70% of these new guys. I'm sorry. I hate to say it. This is where we are at the end of the season, and we should be playing a better brand of baseball, but we're not. And you can talk to me about injuries. You can talk to me about strength of schedule, all that. That's all out the window. We should not look like this at home against Arkansas State. Arkansas State can't hit, but they can pitch. They played tremendous, flawless defense tonight. They pitched it like we thought they would, and they got a couple of key hits by their center fielder. Their center fielder beat us by himself, essentially.
A couple of key hits, dude. They hit 4 in a row. You remember that? First pitch swinging, 4. Bang, 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 bang. And then we come up and lay an egg.
At no point did you feel like we had any fight left in us. I think it's a lifeless dugout. I think it's a lifeless program. I think lots of people have checked out. If you look at what we're putting on the field right now, we got a bunch of guys that have checked out. And to your point, Nick, and I don't know Blaine Lucas from anybody, but when a guy like that goes out and has a good weekend against a quality ball club like USM, and he doesn't see the field on a Thursday night at home, I think that's a disservice. And like you said, we're doing the thing where if you made good grades, you get rewarded at this time of year. All right, I'm down with that. I get it. It's still student athlete. I get that. But Blaine Lucas should have been in the lineup tonight, period, plain and simple. Absolutely no question about it. And I applaud the guys who made their 4.0s and their 3.6s. I applaud that. But we still played Russian roulette with the lineup later in the game where nobody was producing. Caleb Stelly can't do this all by himself. And it's insane because Caleb Stelly was so inconsistent the entire year. And then all of a sudden he's just broken out. He's been the only person that has been playing on the upswing for this offense. The pitching gave you they gave you something. They gave you an opportunity to win tonight, and nobody showed up to hit.
And look, this is not new territory for Cajuns or any baseball team. I just want to say that we've been in positions again, went to the College World Series in 2000, don't qualify for a tournament the next year. 14, 15 had a couple of good years. And then there was a point where I think it was 18 where I was like, I hate this team. Like I cannot stand coming to the ballpark and watching this brand of baseball. So it happens in baseball. It happens, but we could always count on coaching guys up, right? So if you always felt like we always still competed, regardless of the results on the field, you had guys on the field that would compete at least outside of maybe one or two. Like that 2001 season was awful. We didn't compete that season, but you always felt like
Nick, we're a different program.
We're a different program.
2001
totally different
is
program.
Ages ago. We have invested too much money. We paid Deggs double what we paid Tony. We have an NIL fund. We have structured to pay guys for play. We pay for play for people that don't know that. We pay for play. Okay. We have invested way too much. We have way too much into it. The stadium is made and ready. It's a jewel among stadiums in the South. We have done everything right by this program. To come home after what you did against your rival at Southern Miss after they embarrassed you and play like this on a Thursday afternoon, I'm sorry, man. Somebody's got to start answering questions. The post game was embarrassment. The field, the play on the field was an embarrassment. The effort was an embarrassment. I'm embarrassed. And any Raging Cajun fan that's been following this program any amount of time You should be embarrassed too. This is an embarrassing performance. Arkansas State is an improved program, but they are still a mediocre team in the Sun Belt Conference. Yes, they have a couple of frontline arms, but you can't get beat by two people in your own park on a Thursday night when you're literally in the throes of trying to figure out a seeding to get you into the conference or into the NCAAs. Like, we still have too much to play for to look like this. And so is Arkansas State. They're trying to make the tournament for the first time since they've been since we've been in Montgomery. This is the first time ever that they're going to probably make it. They have a lot to play for, and that's fine.
But that's the excuse.
That's what you throw out
they had a lot to play for. That's going to be the excuse,
bullshit.
Josh. Well, they had a lot to play for. We're just kind of bullshit.
I just wanted to say that we are a different program than we were in 2001 and even in 2018. We have put in the money and the time and the investment. We've done our jobs as fans and investors and donors. This is not acceptable baseball, period. They totally destroy. When they lost Kyle DeBarge, the best thing that ever happened to Deggs, when they lost him to the majors and professional baseball, they completely botched building the roster post DeBarge. Totally botched it. And it's okay to say that because we have a complete season. I mean, we have 2 games left. We have a complete season to judge what we're able to do with the guys we threw out there. And I hope that's not offensive to anybody. If it is, I really don't care. Totally missed on half the roster. The new guys didn't perform. The young guys, yeah, we got a couple of diamonds in the rough and we got a little bit of production. Good. We should not be here a year coming off of a top 25 and a team that made a regional final and probably the most, I think, difficult regional that we went. I mean, I think the regional we went to was the most difficult in the country last year. We should not look like this in game 54. I'm sorry. We should.
And even to add on to that, Josh, and I was going to eventually circle back to this season and compare us to a Southern Miss or Coastal. Those teams are performing as you expect year after year. They don't have years where they go 500 or below 500. It just doesn't happen.
Dude, they're supposed to be young this year.
Right.
We're about to lose the only hitter we got. Well, what's next year going to look like? I know they're going to go into the portal and try to get a little bit older, and some of these freshmen are going to go play JUCO ball. I know all that stuff. But are you going to miss again on 70% of the new guys? What happens if that happens? We're losing a ton. We are.
And the portal is going to see its way out for us as well. I think we're going to lose a ton more guys than we have in a while in the portal this year. I think it's inevitable.
Look like this against Arkansas State at home on a Thursday in game 54. You can't look like this. We were lifeless on the field. This is more than a baseball issue. This is a clubhouse issue. This is a not believing in leadership issue.
And that's where I was going with it, Jerry. Leadership, lack of leadership. And whether that's leadership from a player standpoint, whether that's leadership from a coach's standpoint, this ain't, to Josh's point, 2001 anymore. This ain't 2014. This is 2025. And it seems, I don't know, there's someone's not adapting to the way things are now. Yelling at kids maybe just ain't going to cut it anymore. Wolfpack mentality, maybe that's not a thing. I don't know. Whatever it is, it ain't working right now. We shouldn't be in this position this late in the year. And somebody saying it's a culture issue, thank you. Because that's, to me, the problem. There is a culture issue, and I'm not going to point fingers on who that might be, but I think all of us have a good idea of where that might be starting, you know?
Well, I think you look, I mean, like tonight, right? So I just got back from the game. That's why I come here a little bit after the start. But I'll be real with you guys. I've got family in town. You know, Kayla's cousin is graduating from UL tomorrow. I actually regret not spending more time with my family tonight than going to the park and watching that. And it's just unfortunate because, like you said, Nick, I mean, Josh, this is game 54. You know, it's one thing to make the errors that you made at Southern Miss last weekend in week 1. Like against San Jose State, we made a bunch of the same errors in the third game of the season compared to now. That's understandable. But when you come this late in the season and you're trying to get better and you're trying to improve and make a run at the postseason, and this is what you put on the field, you might as well just cash it in at this point. Because what I saw, I'm going to just tell y'all, on the field, that looked like a team that just looked like they're counting down the days for this season to end and just cash it in. And it's a crying shame because, you know, it's the fact that, like, You played an Arkansas State team, and all this nonsense about, well, Arkansas State needed to play for the tournament. Well, guess what? We have to play for seeding too. This isn't just about Arkansas State. We have to play for seeding too. So to act like we just have this in the bag to go to Montgomery is nonsense, and you have to have momentum going to the tournament. Tonight, or should I say the last 4 games added on to tonight, you've basically there is no momentum. You're going in you're going in with the mindset of not even wanting to go. That's what's frustrating to me on what I saw tonight. I saw a team that just they look like they didn't want to be there. I mean, we had one hit. We had one hit for 6 innings. We couldn't even get on base. We weren't even battling at the plate. That should not be the case. I don't care if it's a down year. I don't care if, the team's not playing as well as they should. Tonight was effortless. It was an effortless game, which resulted in a 3-0 loss to an Arkansas State team that we have controlled and dominated for the last however many years. That should not be happening. I don't care if it's a down year. I don't care if you're struggling every once in a while. If you put no effort into it, that's totally different. And what I saw tonight was a team that really looked like they didn't want to be there. And there's no excuse for that.
I want to talk about what Justin's saying, and I'm glad he brought it up. What was that damn lineup tonight? Is it an attempt to prove a point? Yes, it was. It was an attempt to prove a point. And we're hearing it was some guys with good grades got in, some guys who didn't have good grades didn't get in the lineup. But then again, you look at, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to build a resume and try to make ourselves feel better and compete against a freaking middle of the pack, lower end of the spectrum Arkansas State team? No, we're not. We're trying to put for point. We're going to be smarter than everybody else. We're going to put guys in because they made some good grades. And, yay for that. You know what? That got you a 3-0 loss to Arkansas State tonight.
Well, first of all,
that's embarrassing.
But Nick, you want to talk about culture. Our culture, we've always had the same culture in the past. Grinders, water hose boys, but a lot of that is behind the scenes. It's behind the scenes. It's the work you put in that's outside of just the baseball field. And that's another thing too. You were talking about, well, we played these certain guys because of the certain grades. I'd like to know what our GPA was this semester. I'd like to know.
No, you don't.
Okay, well, that's, you want to talk about culture? There's your culture right there. We've got some players that apparently, I guess they're not making grades. That never happens in our baseball program. We pride ourselves on players making grades, but that reflects on the leadership, that reflects in the culture of the locker room, that reflects on the baseball field, that reflects as a reputation as a program. And we're not even doing the simplest things. Let me tell you something, guys. Playing college baseball is a privilege. Okay. Not everybody has the gift to play college baseball. None of us 4 had the privilege to play college baseball. When you put on that Louisiana uniform, there's certain privileges that you have. And when you take advantage of those privileges and you're not going to class or you're not making good grades that allow you to play, that's a problem. That is a problem.
Well, that goes back to culture.
I was going to say, when you start cutting out the guidelines, the people that keep those players in class and make sure they're at home when they're supposed to and make sure the dorms are full when they're supposed to, when you start cutting back on people that are support staff that have for years made sure those things get done, what do you think? The 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to be at the club. They're going to be drinking beer. They're going to be sitting out late. That's what happens. But we're trying to get so lean so we can spend every dime on this NIL stuff, and we're trying to get cute with how we recruit, and we're taking chances and reaching on guys, and this is the result. This is going to continue to be the result. This is our new reality. This is why you can't coach by the seat of your pants. You have got to be look, all this analytical stuff is sweeping the nation. I totally understand. But the fact of the matter is that you still have to coach baseball to win as a small school. You can't coach as if you're getting the best hitters in the country and the best pitchers in the country. And that's what we try to do. We try to be smarter than everybody else. We try to outfox everybody else by taking chances that others won't take. It's foolishness. I've been trying to tell y'all this here for 3 years. They'll say, well, we can't fire Deggs because he made 3 regionals. Sure, he made 3 regionals. And you know what else he did? He's been very average for 3 other years. So if you average it all out, it's an average product. You're average for 3 years. You've made regionals for 3 years. And oh, by the way, what did we do in those regionals? We didn't win them. Is our goal to be a top 64 team in the country? It's not mine. I want to go back to supers, and I want to go to Omaha. Like when he was hired here, he sold us a dream. I'm on board. Let's do it. But we're not close. We're not close. Jerry and I were talking, if you start looking at the names that were on lineups over the last couple of years, your DeBarges, your Rockeforts, your Heath Hoods, your Julian Brocks, guys like that, production in the lineup, up and down. You got pitchers. You got 5 pitchers that are going to pitch in the majors that have been over the last 4 or 5 years. You got 5 or 6 guys that are going to see time in the majors. Couldn't win a regional. If you can't win with that amount of talent, you can't win them. Because the new reality for coaching and recruiting is you're going to have to do more with less, which, by the way, the guy that we had before did more with less. I think the guy we have now is doing less with more. And look, I'm not trying to fire the coach. I'm just saying I've been trying to come here and tell y'all this all these times. It's been fun to make regionals, and I've been happy we made regionals. But right now, we are very far away from a damn regional. We're not close. And the reality is that our fans need to understand that making a regional is not the goal of this program. It never should have been and never is and never will be for me. It's great to make the regional, but we are not paying and we're not investing, and we didn't build an $18 million stadium to be a top 64 team. We're a top 30 team. We're a top 25 team. That's where we're supposed to be. And right now, we have fallen off of a cliff because we can't even compete with Arkansas freaking State at home when we're fighting and jockeying for seeding in our own tournament. That is a problem. It's a culture problem. We can't make the grades. We can't get guys on the field that know what the hell to do with a bunt. Like, we got major issues.
Well, to your point about the players of the last couple of years, I don't know anybody on this roster right now, currently, that fits that culture of what the Heath Hoods and the JTs and the Debos and the Roccos were. There's nobody on that field right now, or at least what I saw tonight and the last couple games, that embody any of that culture that we had over the last 3 seasons. None. I don't see it. I don't see it. I see complacency. I see a happy-go-lucky team that, even when they face adversity, they just, it is what it is. Can't be that way. Not at the rate of what we've built as a program. Can't be that way. To me, there should be mashing and gnashing of teeth in that locker room tonight after that performance that we just saw. But, it's going to be, let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see if we can come back and fight back. No, man, that culture, that culture of anger, that culture of wanting to respond, it's not there. It hasn't been there all year. So I'll just say this. This can't happen again next season. This cannot happen again next season.
Boys, I'm sorry about that. AT&T internet is super reliable in Cypress, Texas, obviously. Lane, let's talk about the atmosphere or lack of in the Teague tonight. Nobody in the stands. Feels like, we'll get to that in a second. Feels like the players have checked out. Feels like our fans have checked out. Didn't hear too much from Section A tonight. You were down there. What was going on in the stands tonight? What was the vibe out there?
It was super quiet. Nobody was really into the game. Like y'all mentioned earlier, when we went down 1-0, it felt like the game was over because that's how the season played out. The Section A was fun. Like, it was fun to sit there, but it's not like it was at the beginning of the season where everybody was into it when there was more fans at the games. Now, granted, there were more fans there tonight than I thought there would be, but even with the amount of fans that were there, they were quiet, didn't really have anything to cheer for. When you strike out 11 players but give up 11 hits, it's kind of hard to cheer on that side, but you also didn't hit the ball till the 7th freaking inning, and it didn't seem like there was any fight from the team. And when there's no fight from the team, there's no, I guess, backing from the fans.
There's no reason.
No cheering.
It was quiet.
It was like you're in church almost, and nobody was doing anything.
Let's go back to this comment. Let's go back to this comment. Deggs is way too comfortable. Let's talk about what people are saying, and I'm not saying any of this is true. This is we're fans. That's what we're here to do, is talk like we're talking in the back porch. A lot of people, you hear like, what's going on with Deggs? This ain't the same Deggs that was here in 2014. I've heard, is he leaving? Like, what is the deal? Does he not like it here? Like, is this not a fit for him? Started hearing that this season. Haven't really heard it before. We always knew Deggs was a little bit of a gambler. This year, it seems like speaking of checked out, and I'm not saying he's checked out, but it feels like he's either too comfortable or just is ready to move on. I don't, the post games, the comments at the press conferences, Josh, it doesn't sound like somebody who came in here and said, we're going to walk through the gates of Omaha. We're making excuses for shit that we shouldn't be making excuses for. Like coming in, well, we had a good practice yesterday after a bad weekend. Like, that's not what I want to hear from my head coach. I want to hear, like, I busted their ass yesterday and they ran the outfield all afternoon. Like, I don't know. This just doesn't. Somebody said the Robe culture is gone. We understood that when Robe left, things would change a little bit, but it feels like you don't have that expectation that they're going to be held accountable, because what happens after we go get our ass kicked at Southern Miss, we come here and get our ass kicked by Arkansas State. Your thoughts, Josh? I mean, is it being too comfortable? Is it not caring? Is it worrying about the wrong thing? Because we talked about that the other day. He's going on podcasts talking about the Lord and all this stuff. Well, I love Jesus, but like, we still need to win some ball games. And you look at softball. Softball made regionals for how many years in a row? You never had a drop at any point in softball over the course of how many years? And now we're talking about, man, hope we don't get swept because we might not make the tournament. There's a chance we could not make it.
This whole we switch coaches thing is the loser excuse mentality. Coastal Carolina went from a national championship winning coach in Gilly to his name is escaping me, but they're better. They're better. Southern Miss just went through a coaching change, and they're just as good as they've always been. 9 regionals. Deggs was supposed to come in here full of piss and vinegar and take all of our potential and turn it into, oh man, we're going back to Omaha. He's in full year 6. And not only has our roster gotten better, but like several has said, the culture it's unrecognizable. Like, I remember in the Steven Sinsley years, Robe would get into the media and he would say, you're either somebody drinking out the water hose or you're an underwear model. And he was talking about like 3 guys on that roster. We got a lot of underwear models on this roster. And listen, people are going to get mad at this, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's the absolute truth. You can be in the Southland and you can have grit and mentality and you can win on intent. You can. We see it happen. Look at what Northwestern's doing right now. That's not a super talented ball club. They're well coached, and they got a bunch of guys out there that are just tougher than everybody else.
Look at what Tulane did a couple years ago. They were like 3-40, and then they go in and they make a run and get into the regionals.
And look, sometimes you can get hot, and sometimes you just have a weekend, and I get all that. But this league is not the Southland of 2017. This is not that. The Sun Belt Conference has legitimate Omaha teams. They have legitimate national championship caliber teams in Coastal. I think maybe Troy's on the
we have 3 ranked teams right now. 3.
Southern Miss is in that conversation. These are real teams. This is like a baby ACC type league. Grit and mentality and intent ain't winning you anything. You need players. You need guys that know what they're doing. You need pitchers. You need hitters that are going to go up there with an actual approach, not just swing at a fastball, swing hard. Maybe you hit it or go far. That doesn't work. Not in this league. In the Southland, it might work, but it ain't working in the Sun Belt Conference in 2025, guys. We've seen this. And look, if you can't roster build year in and year out, you're not going to make it. Maybe the recruiting game has passed him up. And people can say it's 1 year. It's 1 year. Okay, fine. It's 1 year, but it's not. It's the 3rd year we've been really, really average when it came to roster building. And if you want to tell me that COVID was a challenge, okay, I'll give you that. Say I give you 2 average years. If you take away Kyle DeBarge and Carson Rockefeller, We're a very average offense over the course of 3 or 4 years. Period.
JT.
We are.
JT too. Got to forget we lost him as well.
I mean, even JT, JT's not a lineup changer. He's a lineup engine type guy. He's going to get on base for it and he's going to get clutch hits. He's not a lineup changer. He's not, he's not a Caleb Adams or I don't want to go too far back because people will say, well, those are not the same teams. And I agree with that. But look, he is a very good speaker. He took a lot out of Robe's book to where he's building a locker room and he's building men. And I'm not trying to take anything away from that. I want my kid going to a program like that. I want my kid, being around men that take life seriously and try to build it into sport and build it into baseball. I got all that stuff. But we're not paying you to do that. That's part of the job. It's like Marlon saying, well, my kids graduate. Well, they're supposed to graduate. You don't get a bonus for showing up to work on time. Matt Deggs doesn't get a bonus for recruiting good kids. That's not how it works.
Actually, he does. He gets a bonus for GPA. So actually,
well, no wonder he's pissed. But the larger point here is you were hired and paid double to go to Omaha, to host regionals, to go to supers. It's great. It's great that we made regionals 3 years in a row. That's fantastic. Are you going to be regional Glasgow? Everybody called Glasgow regional Glasgow because you couldn't get out of a regional. Or do we have the same thing developing in baseball? Because that's what it feels like almost. Look, Jerry, don't talk to me about doing more with less. Tony Robichaux took a bunch of guys that were on a losing streak that looked horrible in the Sun Belt tournament and went to South Carolina. They said South Carolina was the best collegiate baseball team that ever was. I think they had 5 losses, maybe 5 or 6 losses. They had 3. Their starters all played. They all pitched in the majors. They had guys, they had talent up and down that roster, and they lost the first game, and Tony and the boys came back and won Saturday and Sunday. Don't talk to me about doing more with less. I don't care about NIL. Pay somebody, whatever. Go find ball players that are going to come to the yard ready to play every night, every day, whenever it is. Rain, sunshine, doesn't matter. Go find that. Right now, we don't have that. We don't have enough of them. We have a few, but we don't have enough of them. And it starts at the top. And if you want to tell me that Deggs can't pitch and Deggs is number one for who built this roster. Deggs built this roster. Deggs hired the guys who built this roster. It is at his feet. I don't want to hear any other thing. Arkansas State is improved, and I'll say it again. They are improved and they can pitch. We should not look lifeless in game 54 at home against Arkansas freaking State. I'm sorry.
Talking about doing more with less, one of the craziest stories is the fact that Coach Robe was selling the outfield wall signs. I would go take pictures. We'd put them on paper. And he is in the Houston Regional that year before we go to South Carolina. And instead of worrying about game prep, you know what he was worried about? He was faxing me names of sponsors that I need to go take pictures of their wall so we can recruit those guys to come be sponsors next year. And when the university approached him, and it wasn't like this was like approached him in 2005. This was like approached him in 2018 and said, Coach, let us go ahead and sell those wall signs. He's like, well, what are you going to do with the money? They're like, well, we'll put it in, your account. He's like, no, I pay my coach with that. He paid an assistant coach with the money that he went out and personally sold those outfield wall signs with. So doing more with less? No, we're doing more. We're doing less with more right now.
We're doing less with more. That is my biggest gripe. It's my biggest gripe. Robe spent all those years building this thing, man, and we built it, and it's a hell of an accomplishment. And we have a pearl in the Teague. We do. It's a beautiful park, and we got great fan support, rain, summer, sun or shine. And I know tonight wasn't one of our good moments. It was bad. The atmosphere was bad. It was empty. I get it. I also don't blame them. But it has to be a step up. It has to be a step up. You can't talk to me about recruiting. We're in the most talent-rich area in this country, Texas and South Louisiana. We produce per capita probably some of the best baseball there ever was, maybe outside of Venezuela and the Dominican Republic. But seriously, we got fertile recruiting grounds, okay? We got a beautiful place. We got great facilities to train. We got connections. We got baseball people coming out the wazoo. There's no reason for this. This is bad. This is beyond bad. And y'all can talk to me about, oh, it's one season. It's not one season. It's not one season. We overcame one year we were absolutely top 25, no question about it. We had one of the best players that ever came through this program in Kyle DeBarge, and he carried us a couple years. Absolutely. He did build a very good roster in 2023. Very good roster. Should have won a regional. No question about it. I'm with you. Outside of that, pitching has been a disaster for the most part. Bullpen has been a disaster for the most part. You got no consistency anywhere in the lineup outside of 3 or 4 guys for 4 years. Listen, you cannot build a program with lack of consistency. It can't be, fast, hard, and loose all the time when you're building a lineup and then you're trying to move into the postseason and all this stuff. We're not winning games the way we're supposed to win games. We're still a small school. You got to pitch and play defense. We're never going to win by hitting. We're never going to out-hit everybody. 2014 was a shooting star. And you had the best pitching coach in America that built an incredible staff. It was 2 things. And Deggs had the talent. You had a bunch of local guys that really cared.
And also, let's not forget, he wasn't the head coach. Robe was. So you had that check and balance system going on right there. So you have to keep that in mind. But it's true. You did. Look, you had,
It's a different deal being a guy and being the guy. It's a big old difference. And right now, again, I'm not on the fire Deggs train. I'm just telling y'all what we've been talking about here in and week out. It's hard to have that conversation when the team is doing well because people don't receive it. But when the team is doing poorly, you go back and listen to our podcast episodes for 3 or 4 years, and it's all the same stuff. I mean, it just is. So
it's almost like the last couple of years. Well, outside of 23, you look at last year, you look at the couple of years before that, we outperformed. I mean, we played above what we should have. We won in spite of ourselves. That's what I feel like. It's in spite of the bad decisions that were made, in spite of some of the mental errors that we made and continue to make. I mean, none of that has changed. We've seen this for 6 years. We won in spite of that. It's almost like baseball gods are catching up with us and saying, all right, we gave you this for 5 years. Do it without us. And this is what we're getting. Jerry, one thing I want to ask you about, and I want to start this conversation. Kendall Rogers came on this year, and he's come on the last few years and said, we're going to be a great team this year. I love the roster. He named, of course, this year he's naming Simo. He's looking at Connor Higgs. Last year, years before, he's talking about guys, Langevin and obviously Debo. But Kendall knows his shit, and he comes on our podcast every year before the season starts. And this year was like the last couple of years. He's saying, hey, you guys got a good roster. I think you're going to be nationally competitive this year. Question is, are you going to win that regional? So why do you think that somebody who knows baseball, knows the roster, has seen this guy, has seen these kids play, has inside intel, predicting that we're going to have a really good season? We're getting hyped up. We're thinking, okay, we're looking at the roster. We got some hosses. We got kids from Barb, that might take a little while to develop, but that's a hell of a program. And then we fall on our faces at this point in the year. Like, what do you think causes somebody like him to make such a poor prediction on the season? Or, I mean, I don't want to blame the guy, but there's obviously something, it feels like, in the program. And I know we keep circling back to the culture, but it's almost like the culture is preventing us from being the team that Kendall Rogers and all of us saw at the beginning of the season.
Well, I think, first of all, you always want to build on what you did the previous year, and you do it with the returning players. Connor Higgs, Lee Amade, Jose Torres, Simo. We have a bunch of guys. Caleb Stelly. We got a bunch of names that are in. Oh, let's not forget Donkey, right? Luka Uhas, who's unfortunately out for the year. You look at those names, and believe it or not, I know we had Debo, I know we had JT, but those guys did contribute last year. Luke Uhas got hot at the end of the year. Lee Amade had some nice hits going towards the postseason. Simo was Simo. He beat Texas, ended their season. So and Jose Torres was Jose Torres. So you still had some returning talent coming in from last year. The problem that I think we've missed on this year is the new talent that has come in. You guys name me one player, if you can, name me one player, whether they're in the lineup or whether they've been in the pitching rotation or the pitching bullpen that have come in and have lightened it up. Every year we always get somebody new, like last year was LP, right? Langevin coming in the bullpen, probably saved our bullpen a few times with his longevity of performances. You look at that the last couple of years where you've had guys have stepped up. Prime example last year was Trey LaFleur. Nobody expected him to do what he did last season now that he was fully healthy. But then you look this year, who stepped up? What guy has come up and stepped up consistently all throughout the year?
Well,
I knew we were in trouble.
Let me ride for Drew for a second. He did get injured and he's been playing through pain. I actually like what Drew has done. I really do.
That was going to be my example. So I'm glad you said that.
One guy.
Look, I'll say that his numbers are probably not what he wants, but I think that Drew is a very good piece. Think about this though. Drew Markle, one of the number one reasons why Drew Markle decided to come here over A&M is because they told him that he would play shortstop. They have put him at second, center, third. I mean, I don't want to get into all that because they make promises, and I understand that things change because of injuries and whatnot. But think about the things that he's had to go through. I think that Drew's been a nice piece, and I hope that he stays, and I hope that it gets better next year. But you asked for one, that's the one that I think of.
Okay,
I think so of golf too.
Okay, that's.
I mean,
OG's a freshman. He's a natural freshman though.
No, but he's still new. But he's stepped up when he's been called upon.
But here's where I'm coming at. Okay. Last year, you had players like Donkey, and you had players like Trey LaFleur who showed that type of performance throughout the entire season. To your point about Drew, that's a good point, Josh. Drew's a good player. Poor guy's been hurt this year. He hasn't been given the opportunity to be able to do what he does. So you would think, okay, maybe somebody else may step up. Maybe one of the JUCO guys may step up. I haven't seen it. And OG, you can't put pressure on people like Owen Gold. He's a true freshman playing shortstop, replacing somebody like Kyle DeBarge, one of the best players to put on the Cajuns uniform. My point is that we haven't had enough talent behind the guys that have already played that have come in and stepped up. Cole says Brooks Wright. Brooks Wright in 2 years and in my opinion, if he sticks around, can be an All-American. He's that good. But year,
they crushed his confidence because they don't leave him in the damn lineup when he makes a mistake.
Maybe you're right, but my point is this season we had 4 or 5 guys behind Debo, JT, and those guys that were consistent. Now they were kind of silent in the background, but when you needed Trey LaFleur to get that home run, when you needed Donkey to get that grand slam against Southern Miss to win the series, they stepped up. We haven't had that this year. Even the main guys. I hate to say it, but our returning starters have been inconsistent all year, have had bad weekends. It's just been inconsistent. And let's not talk about the bullpen. I mean, during the midweek bullpen's probably the worst bullpen midweek pitching, probably the worst I've ever seen in the Cajuns team. So you add
we had a bullpen.
That's my point. So you add all of those stuff up, and Nick, I know it's a long-winded answer, but the point is the inconsistency. We had usually every year, you got your returning starters that carry the water, and then you've got the new guys that come in, at least 4 or 5 guys that step up. We haven't had any of it. And God forbid, we haven't had midweek pitching, getting swept by McNeese, losing 7-1 to Southeastern, getting beat by Texas Rio Grande Valley, almost losing to Southern, almost losing to Northwestern State. That's not who we are. We win midweek games like that. We're struggling to beat the worst of the worst in the midweeks this week. We had to come back from a 6-run deficit against Texas Southern in the beginning of the season. So to answer your question about
8-run.
It was 8-run. I don't know. Might have been 8-run. Who knows? But we had to come back from a bad deficit against 2 SWAC schools. So my point is that nobody has stepped up this year, and it's not enough. That's the problem. And look, what I think is we missed on some guys. It happens. But again, next year cannot happen. Cannot miss. Cannot have a big swing and a miss like we did this season. Can't do it.
We missed on a lot of guys, but here's the other thing. This staff sold a bunch of complimentary pieces as if they were going to be the next generation of offensive players. I don't know how many people have looked at the stats, okay? We're one of the worst offenses in the country. I think they keep stats for 307 offenses in D1 baseball. We're like in the 270s if you average out everything. It's really bad. It's not just a little bad. It's not just kind of bad. It's not just bad in the Sun Belt. It's bad. And this is when we hired this guy, this was we're going to change the way we do things. Pitching and defense, no. That's a thing of the past. We're going to hit the ball to win. Name a time we've been a very good defensive team since Deggs has been here. The answer is 0. Name a time we've been a very good pitching team since Deggs is 0. Meh. It doesn't exist. We have been an okay offense. I mean, we hit like 312, I think, in 23. And I think we hit like 292 last year. And then this year, we're like in the 250s. A team that is coached by the offensive guru, as everybody calls him, offensive guru, hitting in the 250s is a massive failure, period. Doesn't matter who came back. Somebody asked who's the most disappointing starter that returned. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I thought Connor Cuff was going to be the next big thing. And for whatever reason, something happened to that guy. He lost his confidence. Cannot hit. Lee would be a close second. I thought Lee was going to take a big step forward. Now, I didn't think Lee was going to be a top 4 guy. I didn't think he was a cleanup guy, but I thought he'd be a strong 6 or 7 guy. And then Donkey has all the tools, but he can't stay healthy. So those are 3 pieces right there that you totally whiff on. Well, Donkey's not a totally whiff, but 2 guys that you totally whiff on, and then Donkey can't stay healthy. I mean, that totally changes how an offense operates. Mandino, it was clear to everybody that I talked to and everybody that, I mean, as far as I can tell, everybody in the locker room and the clubhouse, that Maddox Mandino was one of the guys that had his hair on fire and played that way. Why the hell did all of a sudden, like 2 months ago, he started getting playing time? Well, why? Where was he? Was he injured? Maybe it's something that we didn't know about. Maddox Mandino is a lineup changer. And all of a sudden, they finally insert him and he starts doing his thing. Caleb Selly couldn't do anything for 3 months. And then all of a sudden he's hitting the ball, which I'm happy about. Obviously it's great. And I know he had an injury early on that kind of held him back. But dude, Stelly was another one of those guys where you think, okay, we insert him in the 2-hole. We insert him in the 5-hole. We can rely on him for something. No, not for 3 months. So, some of it is timing, I guess. Some of it is the game. Some of it is the way the roster is built. Some of it is injury. It's not just one thing. And I'm not laying it all at Deggs' feet. I'm not. But it's a lot. It's a lot of the way we built the roster, and it's a lot of how we coach games, and it's a lot of how we run the bases and how we manage a bullpen, which is completely and totally ridiculous. Excuse me, I didn't mean to say that. The way we manage a team, man, I've been bitching and complaining about this for 6 years. The way we manage a team is not conducive of putting out a winning product day in and day out. It's not. And now the chickens are coming home to roost because, you don't have a Rockefeller or a DeBarge. You take DeBarge off of last year's team, it's a totally different ball. We might not be 500 without Kyle DeBarge hitting the home run against Tulane, hitting the home run on a Friday night against USM. The season is totally different.
But I think that goes to, my thought about the roster these past few years. You always had one guy in the bull. You had one guy who could pitch really, really well. Maybe 2. You had 1 or 2 really, really good position players. And then the rest, here we go with the inconsistency thing again, right? And just to be so inconsistent year after year, I mean, I still go back to our lineups are so inconsistent. Guys don't know when they're playing, where they're playing, how they're playing. And I got to tell you, some of the players don't even know why it is that they aren't playing certain nights and why it is they rode the bench, like you said, for 2 months and then start playing and going, and they don't know. So if they don't know, you got to think that's frustrating. If you got guys with talent who've been recruited by all these big schools, like you said, we want to go here, but I was promised this, and now it's not what you were promised, and you're not getting the playing time, that's got to be frustrating for those kids. And then you get the inconsistency because you don't know when you're going to be in the game. And Nick, I know you're supposed to work while you wait, but
you've been around baseball your whole life. Your dad's been a coach. I don't want to get into it because people will get bored, but you've been around baseball your entire life. Baseball players are creatures of habit. And Deggs can get on the TV and he can get on the radio and tell us, oh, well, I want guys that I can plug in at any 1 through 9, and I want guys that'll just be ready when I call their number. And let's be realistic. You got a bunch of kids that now specialize. Okay. You have to recruit from the pool of kids that you're getting. You got a bunch of kids who specialize in baseball. They play baseball in the summer, the spring, the fall. They're taking batting practice by personal trainers and whatever, the private lessons or whatever. These guys, I'm a third baseman. I'm a shortstop. I'm a center fielder. This is what you're recruiting. And it doesn't matter if you like it or not. This is what you're recruiting. This is the pool you're recruiting from. If you take a bunch of kids that are specializing in certain areas and you put them on a field and then you don't give them any amount of we had guys, I was talking to guys last year, they were being told the day that they were supposed to pitch, you're going to pitch today.
We had Lee Amadei at second base. I'm still pissed off about that. There is no reason that Lee Amadei needs to be at second base ever.
Carson Hepworth hasn't seen the field in how long? And all of a sudden we're going to pinch hit him tonight. I get it. Old school baseball guys, I get it. Look, you should be ready when your number is called. I get it. That is not the reality of 2025 baseball at the D1 level. It's not. Daddy ball has taken over. That circuit is the way that guys know the game. It just is. It's terrible. Yes, I understand it, but it is. It's just like NIL. NIL is the way that we do things now. Do we like it? Of course not. But this is how things are done. If you turn a double play, you get $400 in an envelope in your locker after the game. Cool. Awesome. That's how we're playing baseball now. This is how we're doing things. So if you can understand that from an NIL perspective, why can't you understand it from a recruiting standpoint? You can't go in and recruit a bunch of specialized kids to play 1 through 9. You're not going to get a bunch of Carson Rockeforts. That's a shooting star. All right? You can't. But we run our lineup out there like we can just, it's daddy ball. It's AAU ball. Just run out there. Can you play right field? Well, if you can't, you need to learn how. Hey, Lee, can you play second base? Can you catch? Hey, Lee, can you play left field? I mean, it's ridiculous, man. I know I'm kind of going off about that, but it's just ridiculous. The way that we built this lineup makes absolutely no sense. It just doesn't. And we're overly young.
Have we had the same lineup at any point this season?
Stat Guy Lane, I was going to ask you to research for the next pod how many different lineups we've had this season. I guarantee you it's got to be like 50.
Oh, man.
At least.
It's got to be 50. I think I remember we had the same lineup maybe one weekend, 2 games in a row, but
at one point, Maddox Mandino had more appearances on the mound than he had at bats.
That's incredible.
To me, that's the stat of the season. How on earth is that guy not in the lineup when literally nobody at the top of the lineup is producing? He's not our best hitter, but he handles the bat. He's fast. He's athletic. He does a lot to start an offense. And your offense got better when you introduced him to the lineup on a consistent basis, not on a once a week basis. Consistently.
He's been one of the few people that actually gets down the bunts lately.
Josh,
and Lane, he plays hard, dude. On Sunday, Southern Miss is whooping our ass. The game is over, and he's running into the wall trying to make a catch. Give me that every single time. I don't care if you go 0 for 5. If you bring that energy to my team on defense, you can play for me any day.
He did that tonight.
That's what we are supposed to have 1 through 9. That's the problem. We're supposed to have a lineup and a roster full of those guys.
He did that tonight. He did that tonight in left field. The dude literally dove over the tables in left field along the left field line and made a great catch of catching a fly ball. Another thing about Maddox is, it's like the Moneyball quote, right? No matter how his swing looks, no matter what he does, he gets on base. It doesn't matter how he gets on base. It doesn't matter what his swing looks like. It doesn't matter if he puts a bunt down. It doesn't matter if it's a blooper. He finds ways to get on base, and he's going to hustle to get on base too. Even if it's a bad swing, he's going to run his tail off to get on base. And it's the point of the fact that he plays like it's his last at bat of his career every time. If you can give me 8 more players like that, I guarantee you we would not be sitting here with a 25-28 record. But we don't.
I feel like we're gonna find a way to.
Gilbo talking about Duncan. I literally told Jerry today, there's no Pastores on this team. Ready-made hitter that had some very, very clutch hits. And of course, everybody's going to remember the home run against LSU. Literally the only highlight we had in that game. But nobody came in and just solidified a spot. And we talked about Drew, who, like I said, I don't think he got what he deserved this year, but I like him going forward if he stays. You still miss way too much. You miss the way that they built this roster, they totally missed. And nobody's going to be able to tell me any differently.
Every year you have to have all of our good years. We've had 3 or 4 newcomers that have been able to step up and make themselves mainstream in the lineup. And the problem is we had, I mean, outside, you say Drew, poor guy's been hurt. We really haven't had a consistent upcomer in the lineup. I mean, talk about Maddox Mandino. He just got in the lineup like 3 weeks ago, as a leadoff. Poor Sam Ardouin, he started off okay, kind of went to a slump. They moved him to pitcher. He's pitching against Nichols. So it's like Carson Hepworth, the hero of the Texas State game, goes into a slump. We don't see him for a month and a half. He comes in tonight and plays. Collins, freshman, has a future. I think he's got potential. He played in the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. First time he comes to bat tonight and they'll start in the lineup. First time starting in I can't tell you how long. So it's just the inconsistencies of guys that haven't been able to step up, haven't really stepped up or haven't had the opportunity to step up. And it's to the point of inconsistency. And again, it goes back to your question, Nick, earlier, what you asked me about what went wrong. We just haven't had guys that have been able to step up, and the problem is you can't depend on Connor Hicks to hit a home run every time he's at bat. You can't depend on Jose Torres to get a double every single time he's at bat. You can't expect, you had that with Donkey. Poor guy got hurt. He's out for the year. Again, we just didn't have the guys step up or enough players step up to fill in that back end of the guys coming back, because the guys who came back, I hate to say it, a lot of them were inconsistent too this year, all season long. It's been inconsistency even with them. So Justin
must have missed my comment earlier about Blaine Lucas. I've been saying this all season, dude. I've watched the kid play. He's got talent. All he does is hit the ball, and he's not going to hit it over the wall like he did against Southern Miss every time. But the kid can hit if he's given the opportunity. And your question is I have the same question, because you know what? If we have 40 wins at this point of the season or 35 wins at this point of the season, and you want to reward guys with great GPAs, God bless you. Do whatever you want to do. By the way, Blaine Lucas had a great GPA this season. He didn't even see the field tonight. Okay? So I don't know the answer to that. And that's what we're questioning. I know I'm just a fan, and I'm not privy to know the whys behind why a head coach makes these lineup decisions, but you got a kid who could have, had we shown up against Southern Miss, could have ignited a turnaround in that game by hitting a 2-run homer. The dugout got pumped, and then we shit the bed after that. But all he did this weekend was show that he can hit against a ranked team, a really good pitching staff, and he sees the bench tonight. I don't understand that either. But we can ask questions about why is in the lineup every single game this season.
Well, the staff pick favorites, and I'm not gonna say why, because I don't want to get in too much trouble. But the staff picks favorites, so a lot of it has to do with I'm not gonna say that. The staff picks favorites, and I think probably people can figure out why. We talked about it earlier in the episode, but the staff picks favorites, and that's why.
Well, this therapy session.
And by the way, Cole, I said before the McGehee hype train left the yard, I said, I don't get the McGehee hype. I have never seen him do anything that impresses me, and all he did was go out and be McGehee. The McGehee experience is alive and well, baby.
This therapy session, as I was saying, is brought to you by the 5 people at Award Master, Dr. Brett Venable and Acadia and Chiromed, Lafayette Roofing. Again, we had the storms last week. Be sure to call Darren Domang and Lafayette Roofing. Have them go out for a free roof inspection. They won't haggle you. They won't hassle you. They'll just go and tell you what you do or do not need. Eat Lafayette and Ragin' Hydration. Thank you to all the sponsors that make Ragin' Review possible. Also, a little tidbit. We did have an interview with the head coach of Arkansas State, Lane. Why am I still talking about Blaine Lucas? Lane, what was his name? I totally forgot it at this point. It's been a long day.
Coach
Silva, Mike Silva, right? Yeah. So Mike Silva coached at Nichols. coached several different places in Louisiana, very familiar with the Cajuns. Nice guy, very dry. And I did not do so good of a job setting up some of those questions. And being a New Englander, he was very direct in his answer. So I decided to put that in an article instead of letting you guys see my embarrassment in not conducting a great interview. So those notes are on rageandreview.com. We encourage you to go on the website and check out our great articles that we have on there. All of us are pitching in for that. And by the way, it's not behind a paywall. It's not like the newspaper sites in the local area where you have to pay, they say $1 a month, and then you get hit with a $20 a month fee. You just go on our website, read the articles. I'll get one up about tonight's game as well. So please do take some time to go check us out at rageandreview.com. Lane, are you ready to go over the conference standings? I can throw that on here if you are ready to go.
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, so we do want to talk about where this puts the Cajuns as far as in conference standings and what that looks like from a conference tournament point of view. And I know a lot of us are just at this point checked out. If I'm going to be completely honest, I think we're ready to move on and you know, I don't know, hopefully just get this through the summer and watch some football.
Put us out of our misery.
Yeah, put us out of our misery. The ups and downs of the season have given me heartburn. But let's take a look at what the standings look like today. And Louisiana and ODU. Thankfully, ODU lost to Coastal, so that did not move us out of the number 4 spot tonight. But Marshall did get a win, so they're one game behind both us and ODU. And then that following that is Texas State, Georgia Southern, and Arkansas State. By the way, Arkansas State winning this game tonight does qualify for the tournament. They are in a play-in game, which we are hoping to avoid, Lane. But with the loss tonight and with ODU losing as well, you know, next 2 games, obviously, we want to win to keep ourselves in that number 4 position. But you know, what does it look like from this point forward if we don't win our next 2 games? Are we in jeopardy, I guess, of having to play a play-in game at this point? Because I think it's the first 6 seeds get a bye in the first game. Are we in jeopardy of doing that if we lose 1 or 2 of the next games?
So I spent about 45 minutes to an hour trying to figure out every single scenario involving the Cajuns. And I figured out that JMU and ULM are obviously eliminated. And the worst or the best that the Cajuns can finish is 4th. And they hold the tiebreaker over ODU. So as long as they win the same amount of games, or ODU goes 0-3 and we go 0-3, we could still probably be 4th. But we didn't play Marshall this year. And Texas State has the tiebreaker over us. So that's where it can get tricky if we don't win any games or win just 1. And then the worst we can finish is 9th. So if we win the next 2 and ODU wins the next 2, then we finish 4th.
Well, I think if we win the next 2, regardless, we finish 4th, right?
Yeah.
But so if we drop one of these next 2 games, Marshall has a chance and ODU to jump us.
Yeah, since we didn't play Marshall, I was trying to figure that out earlier. I don't know how they factor in.
Well, that's head to head. So let's say that we drop the next game and drop to 15-14, and Marshall wins and goes to 15-14. I think they look at the overall record at that point, which Marshall leads.
Yeah, they would look at that, and then I believe it's like a percentage of after head-to-head. It's like percentage of something else. It was honestly really confusing trying to figure all that out. But
we need Kara Ritchie on here. She's good at that stuff.
She said she couldn't even figure it out.
That's disappointing.
But there could be a possible 6-way tie for 4th or 6-way tie for 5th. Now, in order for us to finish 9th, a lot has to happen. A lot of things have to go the wrong way. Because we do hold tiebreakers over Georgia Southern. And depending on what happens with us in Arkansas State, we could hold the tiebreaker over them. So we'd probably finish around 7-8 if if things don't fall our way, and but
which would be a playing game, which
Yeah,
is
unfortunately
disaster for us.
because we could go from 4th to being in single elimination, which is interesting because baseball's doing double elimination after the playing games, but softball didn't. So I'm not sure why they changed that or made the difference between the two sports, but I do prefer the double elimination.
Yeah, I think it's
over
more
the single.
fair. I mean,
Yeah,
it's always been double elimination. That's weird. I don't know.
yeah. So I'm hoping that the Cajuns can pull it off this weekend. I mean, I feel like everybody hopes that, but being as we don't know the Arkansas State's pitchers this weekend for the rest of the weekend, that kind of throws it up in the air.
Yeah, Silva was not very revealing to us. We're like, who are you starting? He's like, I don't know. Whoever I want to start. We're like, all right, dude, cool.
Yeah, he
Good talking to
basically
you.
he basically said that he has to get his pitchers ready for the tournament. So he's pitching for the tournament, I guess.
And we asked about
We're
his
getting,
bullpen.
we're getting walked by a guy who has never made the conference tournament. That he's setting up his rotation against us. That's how bad we are. Look, I might be the only Cajun fan to say this. I hope we get swept, and I hope we finish 9th, and I hope we go 0-2, and I hope the season ends as fast as possible because I am sick and tired of watching this. This is like a person on life support. Like it's hard to watch. Let's just get it over with. Let's start over. Like this is bad. I'm sorry. Like what? So what's best case scenario here? We go on a run, win the tournament, and get into a regional and get embarrassed. Like I don't want that.
Worst case or best case is we win the tournament, gets into Baton Rouge.
That's even worse. That's even worse, actually.
And that's what would happen. We'd probably be a 4 seed because we're terrible.
Yeah, so T-Stab destroys us, and then they get to make fun of us again. No, I'm not interested in that. Let's just go on early summer vacation. I'm out.
But
I'm done.
maybe
Let's just get it over with. This team.
if that does happen and we take a 1-run lead, maybe Lane can post another video of us taking a 1-run lead. Louisiana leads 1-0.
You're such an ass.
Sorry.
All right. Well, that's the weekend wrap up. At least
Game
a Thursday wrap up. Yeah, it feels like.
Well,
we got 2 more games, guys.
Yeah, it feels like this game lasted for 12 hours because it was hard to watch, guys. It was hard to watch this game, and if you were there in person, I'm sure it was even harder to watch because you had to pay $5 for a Natty Light and $30 for popcorn. So I feel I feel even worse for you. Just want to touch before we wrap it up. I do have one last fun question for everyone. Of course, we have our Lanyap question, but with the softball team ending their season, and I know we kind of talked about it the other night, but this is I just want to, and I want to reiterate. I know people understand, and I think generally Cajun Nation understands. This is not the same situation. This is totally different. Jerry Glasgow screwed us over. Let's just say it is what it is. Dude screwed us over. He left at the worst possible time. He took our players. Players left because they had 30 days to hit the portal. Hearing there might be some coaching changes over the summer. We'll see if that comes to light. But one of the Twitter or one of the tweets that I saw today was like, this is the worst season in Cajun athletics in 25 years or something like that. I'm like, calm down, bro. Like it may be a very disappointing 2024, 2025, but let's not forget our football team, even though they drove us nuts, still got to a championship game and still had to play their backup quarterback who got injured in the middle of the game. And we lost basically because we were playing with a freshman who was seeing his first time, in a game situation in the championship game. I wouldn't say, and you look at, golf, and I know people are going to say, oh my God, you're talking about golf, you're talking about track. Look, track and field, those guys work just as freaking hard as the baseball players do, and so do the golf guys. And we've had success in our athletic department over the last year, so I don't want that to be lost. I don't think this year is a disaster. I mean, when you think about the again, softball situation, baseball, that's a totally different thing, and that's inexcusable. Basketball, hell, we got Coach Q, bro. Like, how can you be upset about that? You kind of had to pay the piper to get there, and it was a rough season. but I don't think this is a complete loss. I can't wait to do our overall grading because, we do that every year. We're going to grade the athletics department in all phases. So we'll see how that goes. But I'll go around the horn real quick before we close it out, guys. And I'll start with you, Josh. Do you think this has just been an overall disappointing year? Or are you kind of like me and like, well, let's think about the good things that we did. It's not all bad, and we're kind of setting ourselves up. I'm not talking about baseball and other sports for a really good push in 2026.
Well, my answer is a little bit layered. Football drives the bus and makes all the money. So the fact that you won 10 games, hosted a championship game, that's a major feather in the cap. It's great for the coffers. Obviously, we made a lot of money off of that. So no, if you count the amount of 10-win seasons we've had in Cajun history, I think, what is it, the third time, or it's not been many. So third or fourth, yeah. So it's not been many. You got to celebrate those things. To Cole's point, water ski team won another natty. It is what it is. We're water ski U. Listen, track and field is back, and that's a big thing. And I know a lot of people don't follow Olympic sports, but even for people that don't, just to say, like, they still get a whole lot of attention, and we still give out scholarships for indoor and outdoor, and all that stuff matters. I mean, those people go on to be professional athletes too, and then they come back to the university and they donate and they get involved. So no, that's a big deal.
I mean, shit, we have basketball a guy from Sweden. We got a guy from Sweden doing the pole vault or whatever, the shawls, the thing that you put, because Mondo, right, at LSU. That's why he's here. You got to think about, like, it's
the greatest of all time. He's the greatest of all time. By the record, he's the greatest of all time. Basketball-wise, one of the best things that happened to this program in 20 years is we got rid of Bob Marlin. We got rid of Bob Marlin and that idiot running the Rebounders Club. We got rid of all these dumbasses that were holding on to basketball. I don't know, their little club. We totally destroyed that. Rage and Review won, they lost. The Cajun fans won at large, they lost. It's a major, major success. So no, I think that even though the basketball season was a total disaster from a on-court perspective, everything off the court is a huge success. So no, I'm not going to look at that as a loss. Diamond Sports, I don't know how you can look at what Ali Habits has done and say, man, look, softball is headed in the wrong direction. No, it's just a reset. We got totally screwed by a selfish jerk who left and went to live in Lubbock. Good luck, buddy.
It says, look how great we are. Look at this. Look at our sold-out stadium.
And
by the way, which hadn't happened all season.
And regional Glasgow ain't going to get out the regional. So, yeah, everybody go and root against Glasgow. It's going to be a great time. But softball is going to be fine. We're going to have to reset. We're going to have to really, the staff has a lot of work ahead of them. But I think we're in good hands from a personnel standpoint. I think the staff is fine. Baseball, I think we're screwed baseball-wise. I think we're stuck. I think Deggs is who he is, and it's never going to change. We're going to be up and down, and we're going to be regional Deggs. I think that's where we're at. That's just my opinion. I've been saying that for 6 years. Whatever. But no, it's not a total loss. I mean, we've had our ebbs and flows. I've made my points on that. But golf. Milan is one of the best golfers we've had here in a long time, and when he leaves, we're really losing a guy that I think he has a chance to be on tour. Ortego, Stripe Show Ortego, another great season for him. I know he didn't make the tourney, but
can I say Pike Guider? Is that it? How he says it? Pike Guider?
Yeah, Milan Pike Guider.
Him. Awesome, dude.
He's one of the best to ever do it here. He really is. I saw that guy play up close and personal at Oakbourne a couple times, and he's really, really good, like stupid good. So he's one of the best we've ever had here. Anyway, golf continues to have, even though they didn't as a team achieve what they did last year, they still had a nice season, and Milan was the ringleader. So no, it's not a total loss. The Olympic sports are back. Basketball's on the upswing, a lot of excitement. According to Jared, there's a lot of excitement. I think there's a lot of people that are wait and see as far as I'm concerned. But the fact that football won 10 games, hosted a championship game, regardless of what happened after that, is a major accomplishment in this program's history. And then you saw what they did in the recruiting circuit. I was thrilled about what we saw at spring, and I got a whole lot of hope going into the fall.
Jerry, I agree with literally everything that Man About Town said there. I assume you do as well. Is there anything outside of what he said that you think you need to add to that?
No, I think he nailed it for the most part. I think football overachieved. I didn't expect us to win 10 games and host a Sun Belt Conference championship after we've went 6-7 2 years in a row. A lot of the close games that we lost in the past, we won, which was good. Basketball, just like Josh said, look, we may have lost a lot of games on the court, but we won as a program. We pressed the restart button, hired a new basketball coach. Our fans are actually interested now in buying tickets and very curious about Quantus White. You have a coach in Quantus White that just recruited a hell of a class, has a roster that is easily top 3 in the Sun Belt on paper right now, has a chance to make a run next season. Just got to get the NIL stuff straight. So that's great. We also have, people that were kind of blackballed for a while from the basketball program that are now back in the fold, trying to make it
Also
better.
known as Rage and Review.
As well as Rage and Review. Yeah. No more country club nonsense that runs the program. We actually have people that rather win than worry about friendships. So that's a huge win. I think that's a huge step forward, even though we had to sacrifice, what was it, an 11-19 or 11-20 record on the court. Is what it is, but we're really headed in the right direction for basketball.
And we sacrificed Jenny too. And that was tough to get rid of through all of it.
Oh,
anyway.
man.
Sorry.
Don't
Guys.
get me
Anyway.
started. It's
Sorry,
too
guys.
late.
It's Rage and Review after dark.
Yeah. As far as baseball, it's a disappointing year, but like I said, I know, Josh, you were saying, there's no excuse for it. And you're right. There is no excuse for it, but next year is going to tell us a lot on whether or not we come back from this. Next year is going to be a huge, huge testament on where we are. And then softball, I'm a little torn on it because, we had 7 returning players come back from last year. I tip my hat off to Coach Allie Habits and her staff, basically taking a team that went away, that left to other places. I mean, Texas Tech is basically the UL Lubbock Raging Cajuns. They basically are hosting a regional with our team from last year. And it's the unfortunate side of the NIL world. But I think Allie's going to have this team back next year. I think we're going to be fine. I think that, once she has a full offseason to recruit and bring in the players, our culture is still here in softball. We still have the fan base. We still have the support. We still have the standard. We'll be back in a regional next year. I'm not worried about that. But it does kind of hurt to not be in a regional this year based on the fact that that was almost a 30-year streak. It is what it is. It's the way of the world today. Just have to deal with it, move forward next year, get back into a regional, which I think we will. And I think golf, look,
Land the plane, Jerry.
Last year.
We're on the runway, pal.
Yeah, last
No more
year
touch and go.
wasn't it 2 years ago they won the conference 2 years ago. This year they have they have a representative. They have a representative that's I'm sorry, I'm totally it's late. I'm trying to remember his name.
Can we talk about Doug's profile picture? That thing is fantastic.
Doug
Nice
is checking
job.
in. I wanted to say Doug checking in. I mean, Juanis even checked in, and then Doug. So that's crazy. But Doug checking in from Miami Moon tonight. What's up, buddy? Sorry, I'll let you wrap up
That's
your
the
thoughts.
funniest thing you've ever said on this show.
No, I tip my hat off to Milan for doing what he's done in the last week or so. That's a huge. I mean, what a way to represent our golf program in the postseason. And then, of course, track and field. I mean, the amount of success we've had this spring. I haven't seen our track and field. I mean, they had they had a good season last year, but they've elevated where they came from. So as a whole, sometimes you have to judge an athletic year, not just by the results on the field, but off the field. Again, prime example is basketball. So I think the only way is up for all of these programs. Like, went to the spring game this year. We're going to have a damn good football team going into the fall. It's going to be a lot of excitement. It's a good place to start. Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm going to start using that when y'all go too long. That's your cutoffs. That goes for everybody on here. When you start going too long, you get the airplane ding dong. Oh, I love you, Jerry. Lane, wrap it up, man. Quick. What are your thoughts on this athletic year?
So football overachieved as they hosted the conference tournament. As a program, as a whole, basketball on the court underachieved, but off the court they overachieved because they get a whole new coach, whole new team. I really think because of everything that happened with softball, I think they overachieved. You get demolished by your head coach leaving during the middle of the summer, and you can't recruit players properly. That kind of throws a wrench into things. but they overachieved, especially winning, I believe, 9 of 10 or 10 of 11 late in the season to move from 11th to 3rd overall for the conference. Baseball, it's an extremely down year. We hadn't seen in what, 10, 15 years.
Been a while too.
That's not competitive like they have
In
been
the
in the
toilet.
past.
Awful offense.
And then track and golf. I believe track, this is for both the men and women. I believe this is their best season in 5-10 years.
I want to say a decade, if not more.
Oh yeah, maybe more.
It's the most events that they've won in like 10 years. So I look forward to seeing what the rest of the programs do next year, and hopefully it'll be a much better year next season.
I had to hit you with it because I couldn't just hit Jerry with it. I feel bad now for giving it the sound. All right, last topic tonight, boys. Interesting statistic. The city of Lafayette population is 121,000 people, and currently in Lafayette, now this does include Broussard, Carencro, and Youngsville. There are 97.
No way. That's got to be a proper number.
Oh, well, if you're talking about Lafayette Parish, hold on. Let me go back to that. Lafayette Parish.
Well, with the metro, it's like 250,
200, right? 249. Yeah. So let's go with 249,000 because that's Lafayette.
Look,
that's
the Hattiesburg folks are going to take that and be like, oh,
yeah. They got no. They got 45,000 people in Hattiesburg. Don't play with me. Like I could shit a Hattiesburg here in Houston. Anyway,
I didn't say trailer parks, Nick. I meant just the whole city.
Yeah, 249,000 people in the Lafayette area, 97 Mexican restaurants. That is astounding. I don't even think they have 97 restaurants in Houston, population 3.7 million. So let's talk about your favorite Mexican restaurant. I'll start with you, Lane. If you're craving some Tex-Mex or some Mexican, where are you going?
I was gonna joke and say Taco Bell because it's right across the street from me, but I will go with El Patrio down I believe Bond Street. They're probably one of the best, and not only that for food wise, but the cost is
fucking
pretty good too.
We're gonna need to go back and do Chinese, by the way, and coffee shops, because Chinese, we got that kid that sits there and he's ridiculous panda or whatever it's called.
And the house,
anyway, yeah.
But I believe Lafayette, I could be wrong, but I believe Lafayette has the most restaurants per capita.
Well, that's why they're always
America.
shutting down, because where are people gonna go? Jerry, your thoughts? What's your favorite Mexican place in Lafayette?
Lane took mine, El Patrio. That's a hands down, without question. It's affordable. The food's good. It's authentic as can be. Good pick, Lane. That's mine too.
I'm gonna need to check it out. Do they do free chips and salsa though, right? Because I literally just gorge myself on that. I don't even eat food.
It's good.
Josh, you're gonna give some funny answer. I feel it coming. Like you're gonna say something crazy.
No, not really. El Patrio is good if you want to. Look, it's cheap, but I mean, come on, it's not good. It's cheap. But I do have a mea culpa. Well, it's terrible, dude. El Patrio is like, when you go to like what's the popular place? La Hacienda. It's La Hacienda with like $1 off.
It's like La Fonda. It's like you go, ooh,
Jerry, you
so
like
good.
you eat at Bonefish Grill. Don't talk to me about restaurants.
No,
that wasn't him.
No.
What Bonefish Grill thing?
What is your favorite Mexican place?
Oh, right. I have a mea culpa because for a while, like I set out to find the Mexican place in Lafayette, and everything is the same basically. So we went to La Pagua. I don't know, 3 years ago, and it was all right. It was
I thought it was good. Yeah,
it was fine.
Yeah, that's good.
But it wasn't like I don't get caught up in the whole hype. Oh, La Pagua is so incredible. It's incredible. It's like, it's all right. It's fine. Well, for Cinco de Mayo, you all shamed me into not, celebrating Cinco de Mayo with our Mexican friends. So what I did was, wife and I decided we're going to go and celebrate La Pagua. Celebrate Cinco de Mayo. We went to La Pagua. Food was phenomenal.
Well, I didn't see you there.
I
was there.
We went to La Pagua. I don't know. We probably went about 8:30.
Oh yeah, we went earlier. Yeah.
Well, yeah, when the adults go, you went with the old people. I went with
Jerry's
the
like
adults.
me. I eat at 5 o'clock, so I can't even clown him on that. 5 o'clock, I'm getting hungry. Let's
Look,
eat.
Listen, so we get there, like the TV's not working. It's loud, but not like hopping. It's just kind of loud, which is annoying. It was like, what are we doing here? But as soon as the food showed up, it was money. It was money. It was good. So La Pagua, probably the best Mexican I've had around here, to be honest. I mean, it was good, really good. This is how good it was. I ate the leftovers. You know, sometimes you go home and you have it in the refrigerator, sits there 4 or 5 days, and you throw it out. Nope, I ate the leftovers. That's how good it was. So La Pagua, for me, probably the best Mexican joint around.
There is no place now. Of course, I would say La Pagua is where I went. So, but that's been a couple years. It was really good. My mom got drunk, so that was always fun. But the place that will always stay in my heart. And by the way, I visited. We have one here. You don't say it's not Humble, even though it's spelled Humble. It's Humble, Texas. My favorite spot ever is Ponchos.
Well, yeah. I mean,
where cultural appropriation is legal and you raise the Mexican flag if you want your sopapillas. Dude, I'm telling you, and it is the worst, best Mexican food you ever ate. It's like a high quality Taco Bell, but it's so damn good.
Dude, it's like it's like the what's that mall Chinese restaurant they have? The Panda.
Yeah,
whatever.
I think it's Panda.
Panda
yeah.
Express.
It's like Panda Express from Mexican, yeah.
Well, Josh, we already had that discussion about Panda Express. He's not a fan. I was trying to say don't sleep on it, but he totally shut me down. But yeah, man,
Look, it made me sick, and it was in an airport, so I'll give it a little bit of credit. But I mean,
well, look, it's like going to the Ryan's Mega Bar. Every time I ate Ryan's, I got the shits, and that's the same thing at Ponchos. But it's so freaking worth it, bro.
Ponchos is worth it because you get to do the flag. You do the flag,
and you get the sopapillas. And then by the time you get to your car, you're booking it home. You know, shit starts rumbling. Anyway, that is it. By the one last thing I wanted to mention, and I know Jerry, you got to grace my brother got to grace you with his presence today. You and Supa John at Ground Patty. Very excited about the new old new Ground Patty that is back to the old roots. That doesn't taste.
It's awesome.
That doesn't taste like some shit on a plate. Like it's back to like when Mark owned it, and yeah. I'm glad that is back, and they had the old, and I mean, I even forgot about the old the cups that are like metal, like that was
the night mugs.
Back. Yeah, when
medieval,
I was a freaking
medieval mugs,
medieval times. Yeah, it's like back in the day.
We went last night. Place rules. And food was Jerry. I know y'all went today for lunch, but and hey, by the way, no, you know what? No free advertisements. Somebody needs to call up their manager, and we need to do a deal. But it is good.
It is good. Yeah. It's good. It's good to have them back. It's a staple in Lafayette. It's good to have them back. Yeah.
They feel like
Pagua. Call La Pagua. Get them on the phone. La Pagua.
The pupusas, anyway, dude. Can't mess with the pupusas over
there. Final thoughts. We'll go around the horn, then we'll call it a night. Lane, any final thoughts before we go?
We need 2 wins this weekend.
Agreed, Jerry?
Just show up, please.
All right. I'll let you bring it home, Josh.
Baseball's ass. Don't waste your time watching that. Put some money on the PGA. Listen, it's a bomber's paradise this weekend. If you're going Bryson, if you're going, literally, you could go Team Rose and probably get some value. PGA Championship, dude. I'm telling you, you make some money.
Well, look, hey, you know, who was the guy who would call it on 1420 back in the day? Just let Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame. Well, guess what? Pete Rose is now eligible for the Hall of Fame. I couldn't let that go. You talking about Justin Rose, Pete Rose? They probably cousins down the road. Anyway, like, subscribe, and share our stream. Also visit RaginReview.com, where we are posting or trying to post articles every single day. I will compose one tonight, unfortunately, before I go to bed about this wonderful night that we had over at the Teague. Thanks once again to Award Master, Dr. Brett Venable and Acadia and the Chiromed, Lafayette Roofing, Eat Lafayette, and Ragin' Hydration, who make Ragin' Review possible. Boys, tonight was a good therapy session, as I indicated earlier. Thank y'all for hopping on. I know it was a long night at the Teague, but for Lane, for Jerry, for Josh, Man About Town, Dejected Ball Enthusiast, I'm your boy Nick. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Might see you back here tomorrow night post game if we're feeling it. If not, we'll see you back here on Saturday after that game. Y'all have a good rest of your evening, and as always, go Cajuns.
Another whip in the glass, another chip in my tube.